It is 2025, and I hope you had a happy holidays for everything that went on just at the end of 2024. And this is our first video, and this is a cute little game called Xenopurge. Now, if you're looking at this and thinking, what on earth is on my screen? Well, there are little blue dots, and there are red dots. And what you're seeing here is essentially that you are a commander controlling a group of blue dots, and you are trying to essentially take out an alien hive, which is the red thing, and you're doing this by indirect commands. See, there's a simple beauty to Xenopurge. It's an upcoming game from Traptics that combines elements of tactical strategy with a roguelike run system akin to Slay the Spire, and it puts it all behind an aliens vibe CRT monitor that just gives it this really nice appeal and look. If you've played Duskers, this is something that's really going to have that kind of feel to you. Now, Xenopurge is still early in development. There's a Kickstarter coming up as well to help add extra features in the future. You see, this isn't really ready for release at this point. As you're going to see in the interview questions that we got to ask at the end of this video, this game is about 20%, but the core loop is there. You can see what's going on the screen. Now, the question is, how does it play and what are you doing? You see, you're managing a squad, but this isn't XCOM. This is indirect commands. Like we mentioned, the CRT monitor gives a separation between you, the commander, and the squad of soldiers and criminals that you're going to be controlling to take out alien cores, explore rooms, and you're going to be upgrading your units. You're going to be doing things like giving them new skills, new commands of how they actually play when they encounter things and what they do. And the way that you're going to be playing this is by setting squad members together and utilizing the skills and the commands that they have to give them the best chance of survival. It's careful planning of how you combine behaviors and weapons that is going to dictate success or failure here. Like we said, it's early days for Xenopurge, but we were lucky enough to get some playtest time as it's currently going on. If you're interested in that, feel free to join their Discord and also, of course, wishlist the game on Steam and apply for the playtest on Steam as well. Here are the interview questions that we got to ask for those who want a bit more information about the game. And I hope you have a great 2025, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the videos we're going to put out over this year. Thank you.
Of course. So I'm Mike Papagathangelou. I know it's a mouthful. I'm from Greece. I'm the co-founder of Traptics, which is a game development company founded in 2012. My partner is called Kate Mataraga, which is the other half of Traptics. And we like to make games. I mean, everything else is just related to games.
It's very much like we said, it feels like a game within a game. Where did you come up with the concept of wanting to create something like that rather than just creating that? Like, you know, because it could have been very easy to create a 4-player co-op. You know, you are those Marines, you are doing those missions. Where did the idea to kind of zoom out from that approach come from?
So initially when we started, we had this thought of being a commander of the squad, but how the visual would be, you know, approached and how the whole setting would be approached was kind of a mystery. And our initial thought was to do something like that, you know, being in your own command center and command everything through different kind of screens. But we were very skeptical about how we would approach the visual style of this and how appealing it would be for a bigger audience.
Yeah.
And in our initial designs, we decided to make it as though it's kind of a board game. I don't know if you know Nemesis, but it's a very famous board game. Yeah, that has a very similar inspiration, that inspiration being Alien. And initially we made everything being like, you know, different kind of miniatures that hop on the board with no animations, very much like a board game kind of thing. Everything was flat on the board. But on the first 3 people that we showed it to, they had without absolutely no clue, they said, what wouldn't it be cool if it was instead within a command center and seeing everything through the screen. So the initial concept that we had rejected ourselves because we were very skeptical about the aesthetics, it was brought up completely randomly by the first three people that we actually showed the game to. So this was a very strong, clue that our initial inspiration, the command center, was probably the way to go. And up until this point, I wasn't familiar with Duskers. So someone showed Duskers to me, and this was, a very good confirmation about how
Yeah.
this kind of visual style can actually be very appealing and can have a mass appeal to multiple people. So this was a confirmation that, we should not go against our initial hunches, and we reverted back to this thing. We also found other games like Dead Note that had this style of screens, of different screens, and through different kind of games that we didn't initially know of but managed to find later, we saw what was working and what was perhaps not working so well, and we want to believe that we got the best of each of these games and have combined it into Xenopurge.
You have the playtest out at the moment. Like, how much, like, percentage-wise, would you say of where the playtest is now versus where you ideally would want to be? Like, how much of the game are people actually able to see in the playtest? Is this just giving them a taste of the idea, or is this kind of like we've got, all of the bones there, or like how far is it?
I think in terms of the experience, the kind of the game it's going to be, it's quite there in the terms that the graphics are very representative, the atmosphere is representative, but in
The
terms
base
of
loop sort of thing, like the core loop is
yes,
there, and you're just going to iterate on it. Okay.
yes, but the in terms of variety, in terms of depth,
Yeah.
I'd say we are maybe at 20%, and this is what we're going to focus on. The biggest bet for us was whether this visual style and this, gameplay style would be attractive. And now that we have confirmed that, we are working on making the actual gameplay as engaging as possible. We had a few comments. I mean, from 30 people on Discord, we actually got more engagement and more feedback and more comments that we had than we had like 500 people on Homesick. So in a single
Okay.
day, practically. The community has been very engaged. They've been seeing the potential of the project, and this fills us with excitement. The main thing that we're trying to solve right now is how easy it is for the player to understand what's going on and how easy it is for the player to control things, because you are not the person on the screen, you are the person behind the screen, and when you give them a command, when you tell them to do something, things might happen that is going to interrupt them, like they're going to be engaged in combat, there are delays in the communication, stuff like that. But these need to be implemented in a way that is not frustrating and it is reasonable and understanding to the player. And this is a part that we had a lot of feedback on. So right now, certain commands feel certain logics feel a little bit um, rigid.
Can we talk about the Kickstarter? Like, what is the idea behind it? Like, if because some people obviously are going to go, well, if you've got the game on Steam already, like if you have a page, if you have a game, why do you need a Kickstarter? So can you kind of talk us through the Kickstarter process?
Yes, the Kickstarter is not there to fund the game so much as a way to engage with the community. Through the Kickstarter, what we want to do is to give access to more people to go join some private beta, to get some different kind of rankings, to be able to be part of the process of designing the game and interact with us. And we're going to offer rewards, like, okay, you can have your own name in the game, like one of the soldiers, or
Yes. Okay.
even design commands with us and stuff like that. So this is the opportunity for people that actually enjoy this kind of game to be part of the process of designing it and being part of the end result. And we are not going, we will probably have a small goal, probably under $10,000, which is, like I said, it's not there to fund the game. It's more
Yeah.
like to cover some expenses. We're trying to gather some funds in order to get professional voice actors and do this part, and stuff like that are more about being part of the process rather than funding the game per se.
I'm guessing it's also one of those things where it's like you have only so many hours and only so many people and only so much time that you can actually spend on the game, and having more budget means that you have more ideas that you can add to the game, because I'm sure there are many things that you had to essentially look at and go, I would really like to put this in the game. I think it would really be really good and beneficial, but time or money or something else means that it's not feasible at this point to actually do that.
The whole logic behind this kind of game that we designed was that we need to be able to expand it as easily as possible and as much as possible, both in depth and in content. And the art style, for example, does a very good job in this because we have a very simple UI that we can easily reuse, make different stuff like that. So it's easy for us to add content, and what we care about is so that the base of the game allows us to easily expand it. So right now we have maybe like 10 commands inside the game and like a few behaviors. We have already designed on paper 4 or 5 times more in commands, and this will come into place as different systems come into place and different objectives come into place, and we're going to be pushing like big patches. Okay, so now we have this kind of a system. It's a whole system, it's just not a few commands that are added to the game. And yeah, of course, Kickstarter is going to help us. I mean, if it does much better than this, it's going to allow us to expand the game on several parts.
So how many people do you actually have working on the game? Is it just yourself and the colleagues that you mentioned, or like is it a small team?
I handle the promotion and the game design. Kate handles the programming. We have another partner that is handling the graphics. His name is Panos. And we have another external partner that will handle the sound effects, the processing of the voice acting, stuff like that. So a total of 4 people. But me and Kate are full time. The other guys are a little bit part time. So maybe
As
3 people in total, let's say, in terms of man hours.
as is kind of the way when you're approaching an indie game, you kind of always have that like, oh, we're working on the game, but also we have to pay the bills. So like yeah. So I guess one of my final questions would be, outside of games like Duskers, which obviously like big through line from Duskers to here because of the style of it. Looking outside of games, are there any kind of other areas that influenced making a game like this? Like obviously Aliens kind of plays a part, but are there any other like books or movies or TV shows or anything that kind of you feel influenced parts of it, or like sound design or anything that you wanted to kind of give it a feel of?
The biggest influence is Aliens. There is a narrative influence that is going to be a little bit spoilery.
Okay. No,
I'm not sure if I should
then.
mention that.
No.
And,
Let's keep that one.
and then Space Hulk came into place as an influence naturally.
Yeah.
XCOM, because you are still a commander kind of thing, but the main influence, the main experience we're trying to mimic is Lieutenant Gorman in the Aliens movie, where he is staring at his screen, just hearing people scream and dying over the microphones. This has been the main influence, and everything else comes, like an extra kind of thing.
Wow, the game looks great so far. It's a vibe that I really kind of enjoy. I like those kind of games like that, or also like Duskers or Uplink, where it's you and a computer interface. So it looks great, and I wish you all the best with the Kickstarter, and I wish you all the
Thank
best
you very much.
with the playtest and moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dave.